In the vibrant city of San Francisco, Evelyn Carlyle led a life filled with routine and predictability. A curator at the prestigious Historical Society Museum, her days were spent cataloging artifacts and uncovering the hidden stories of the past. Evelyn's love for history was sparked by her grandmother's tales of bygone eras, filled with romance and adventure. These tales were her escape from the monotonous reality of her modern existence. One crisp autumn afternoon, while rummaging through a box of newly acquired artifacts, Evelyn discovered an intricately designed pocket watch. Its gold casing was adorned with delicate engravings and the initials HC. The watch was unlike anything she had seen before, exuding an aura of mystery. Intrigued, Evelyn began to examine it closely. As she turned the watch over in her hands, the hands of the clock started to spin wildly. Before she could react, a blinding light enveloped her, and she felt herself being pulled into a vortex of swirling colors. When the light finally faded, Evelyn found herself lying on the cobblestone streets of an unfamiliar city. Dazed and disoriented, she slowly stood up and looked around. The streets were filled with horse-drawn carriages, and people dressed in Victorian attire bustled about. The air smelled of coal smoke and freshly baked bread, mingling with the scent of horse manure. She realized, with a mixture of awe and fear, that she had somehow been transported to the past. Evelyn's initial shock was compounded by the realization that her modern clothes, jeans, sneakers, and a sweater, stood out glaringly among the period-appropriate dresses and suits. She quickly ducked into an alleyway, her heart pounding. She had to find a way to blend in. Spotting a clothesline strung with drying garments, she hesitated only a moment before borrowing a plain but elegant dress and a bonnet. Slipping into the attire, she felt an odd sense of transformation, as if she were stepping into a role in a historical drama. The dress was slightly too large, but she managed to adjust it to fit reasonably well. With her modern clothes hidden beneath a pile of rubbish, she took a deep breath and stepped back into the bustling street, trying to move with the confidence of someone who belonged there. Struggling to make sense of her situation, Evelyn wandered through the city, trying to find clues about where and when she was. She soon discovered she was in London, and the year was 1875. As she explored the city, she came across a grand estate with a help wanted sign. Desperate for shelter and answers, she decided to apply for the position. The estate belonged to the Duke of Hawthorne, a nobleman named Henry Cavendish. Henry was known for his brooding demeanor and troubled past. The servants at the estate whispered about his tragic love story and the mysterious death of his fiancée, which had left him a shadow of his former self. Despite his stern exterior, Henry had a reputation for being a fair employer. Henry Cavendish was a striking figure, standing tall with broad shoulders and a chiseled jawline. His dark hair, usually meticulously combed, often fell into his piercing blue eyes, giving him an air of disheveled elegance. Those eyes, however, held a deep sadness, a reflection of the burden he carried. Henry was a man of few words, preferring the solitude of his study or the estate's extensive gardens over social gatherings. Despite his aloofness, there was a kindness in his interactions with the staff, a hint of the compassionate man hidden beneath the layers of sorrow. Evelyn was hired as a governess for Henry's younger sister, Clara, a spirited and inquisitive girl who reminded Evelyn of herself. Clara was immediately drawn to Evelyn, her curiosity piqued by Evelyn's slightly out-of-place demeanor and her engaging storytelling. Evelyn, in turn, found solace in Clara's youthful exuberance and genuine affection. As she settled into her new role, Evelyn couldn't shake the feeling that her presence in this time was no mere coincidence. She felt a strange connection to Henry, and her curiosity about his past grew. One evening, while exploring the estate's library, Evelyn stumbled upon a hidden diary belonging to Henry's late fiancée, Isabella. The library was a grand room, with high ceilings and walls lined with shelves of books that reached almost to the ceiling. The smell of aged paper and polished wood filled the air. The diary was tucked behind a row of dusty volumes, its leather cover worn, but the pages inside surprisingly well preserved. The diary was filled with entries that painted a picture of a passionate and complicated love affair. Isabella's final entries hinted at a secret that had the potential to change the course of history. Evelyn realized that uncovering this secret could be the key to finding her way back to her own time. As Evelyn delved deeper into the mystery, she and Henry began to spend more time together. Their initial interactions were strained, as Henry was guarded and reluctant to let anyone get close. But Evelyn's genuine kindness and intelligence gradually broke down his defenses. She learned about Henry's past, his heartbreak, and the burden of his title. Despite their differences, a bond began to form between them. Henry's study, where they often found themselves, was a masculine retreat filled with dark wood furniture and the scent of tobacco. A large mahogany desk dominated the room, papers and books strewn across its surface, evidence of Henry's tireless work to manage the estate and his charitable endeavors. A decanter of brandy stood on a side table, a remnant of his solitary evenings contemplating the weight of his responsibilities. One night, as Evelyn stood by the window, looking out at the moonlit gardens, Henry approached her, his expression softening. He spoke of his fiancée's death for the first time, his voice tinged with sorrow and regret. Evelyn listened intently, her heart aching for the man who had suffered so much loss. Their shared moments of vulnerability brought them closer, and Evelyn found herself increasingly drawn to Henry, despite the impossible circumstances. Evelyn's determination to solve the mystery of Isabella's death and her growing feelings for Henry put her in a precarious position. She knew that changing the past could have unforeseen consequences, but she couldn't ignore the strong connection she felt to Henry. Torn between her duty to history and her heart, Evelyn resolved to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As days turned into weeks, Evelyn became more adept at navigating the intricacies of Victorian society. She learned to move gracefully in her borrowed dress, to speak with the decorum expected of a governess, and to hide her modern sensibilities beneath a veneer of Victorian propriety. Yet, her independent spirit and sharp wit often shone through, endearing her to those around her, even as it occasionally puzzled them. Her bond with Clara grew stronger, the young girl confiding in Evelyn her hopes and dreams, her fears and insecurities. Evelyn became a mentor and a friend, her presence bringing a lightness to the household that had been absent for too long. And as she continued to uncover the secrets of Isabella's diary, she felt the pieces of the puzzle slowly coming together, even as the threads of her heart entwined more tightly with Henry's. Evelyn's journey was only beginning, and she knew that the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. But with each passing day, she grew more determined to face whatever lay ahead, driven by a love that transcended time and a quest for truth that could change the course of history forever. Evelyn's nights were filled with restless dreams of her life in the modern world and the enigmatic Henry Cavendish. Her days, however, were devoted to caring for Clara and piecing together the fragments of Isabella's diary. The entries hinted at forbidden love and clandestine meetings, painting a vivid picture of Isabella's life and her tragic end. Evelyn's curiosity turned into an obsession as she felt the weight of her mission pressing down on her. Henry, noticing Evelyn's preoccupation, began to spend more time with her, drawn to her intelligence and unwavering determination. Their conversations, initially polite and formal, became more intimate as they shared their thoughts and fears. Henry revealed his guilt over Isabella's death, convinced that his actions had led to her demise. Evelyn's heart ached for him, but she knew that the key to understanding Isabella's fate lay in the hidden passages of the estate and the secrets buried within its walls. One evening, after Clara had gone to bed, Evelyn and Henry found themselves alone in the library. A fierce storm raged outside, the howling wind and pounding rain creating an atmosphere of suspense. Evelyn couldn't resist the urge to share her discoveries with Henry. She showed him Isabella's diary and explained her theories about Isabella's secret love affair and the possibility of foul play. Henry was initially skeptical, but as Evelyn read aloud the diary's final entries, he felt a chill run down his spine. The descriptions matched certain events he remembered, but there were details he had never known. Isabella had written about a hidden lover, someone she had planned to run away with on the night of her death. Evelyn's conviction and the diary's revelations shook Henry to his core. Determined to uncover the truth, Evelyn and Henry began to investigate the estate together. They searched for hidden rooms and secret passages, relying on Isabella's cryptic clues. Their quest brought them closer, their mutual trust and growing affection igniting a spark neither could deny. They worked late into the night, their proximity leading to stolen glances and lingering touches. One night, while exploring a forgotten wing of the estate, they discovered a hidden door behind an old tapestry. The door led to a small, dusty room filled with letters and artifacts. Among them was a love letter from Isabella's secret lover, revealing his identity as a rival nobleman named Lord Edgar Montague. The letter detailed their plans to elope and hinted at a dangerous plot to frame Henry for Isabella's death. The discovery stunned Henry. He had always believed Isabella had died in an accident, but the letter suggested she had been murdered to prevent their elopement. Evelyn's heart raced as she realized the magnitude of their findings. If they could prove the truth, they could clear Henry's name and change the course of history. As they delved deeper into the mystery, Evelyn and Henry's bond grew stronger. They confided in each other, their connection transcending the boundaries of time. Evelyn's feelings for Henry blossomed into love, but she was haunted by the knowledge that her time in this era was limited. She knew that once she fulfilled her mission, she would have to return to her own time, leaving Henry behind. Despite her internal struggle, Evelyn focused on their quest. They gathered evidence, interviewed old servants, and pieced together the puzzle of Isabella's death. Their efforts led them to a confrontation with Lord Montague, who confessed to his role in the plot. The confrontation took place in a dimly lit parlor, the air thick with tension. Montague, a man of considerable charm and ruthlessness, initially denied any wrongdoing. But under the weight of Evelyn's relentless questioning and Henry's imposing presence, his facade began to crack. Evelyn presented the love letters and the damning evidence they had uncovered. Montague's confidence wavered, and he began to sweat. "Isabella and I were in love," Montague finally admitted, his voice trembling with a mixture of anger and remorse. "We planned to run away together, to escape the constraints of our lives. But when she told me she wanted to stay and try to make things right with Henry, I couldn't bear it. I knew that if they were together, Henry would inherit everything, and I would be left with nothing." His confession poured out in a torrent of emotion, revealing the depths of his jealousy and desperation. "I planned to frame Henry for Isabella's death, to rid myself of my rival and take everything for myself. On the night we were supposed to elope, I confronted her. She tried to leave, but I lost control. It was an accident, but I let everyone believe it was Henry's fault." Henry's fists clenched at his sides, his anger barely contained. Evelyn placed a calming hand on his arm, her touch grounding him in the midst of his fury. Montague's face crumpled in defeat, the weight of his guilt finally breaking him. He fell to his knees, begging for mercy. With Montague's confession, Evelyn and Henry had the proof needed to exonerate Henry and honor Isabella's memory. The news spread through the estate and the surrounding community, restoring Henry's reputation and lifting the shadow that had hung over him for years. The staff and tenants of the estate celebrated the revelation, their loyalty to the Cavendish family reaffirmed. As the truth came to light, Evelyn felt a bittersweet sense of accomplishment. She had fulfilled her mission, but her heart was heavy with the impending farewell. Henry, too, was torn. He had found love again, but the thought of losing Evelyn was unbearable. Evelyn and Henry stood together on the estate's grand balcony overlooking the gardens. The night air was cool, the scent of blooming flowers mingling with the faint aroma of the nearby stables. Evelyn's hand rested in Henry's, their fingers entwined as they faced the uncertain future. "We've come so far," Henry said softly, his voice filled with a mixture of gratitude and sorrow. "I can't imagine my life without you now." Evelyn's heart ached at his words. She turned to face him, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Neither can I, Henry, but our love is bound by time, and I don't know how much longer I have here." Henry pulled her into a tender embrace, his lips brushing against her forehead. "We'll find a way. I don't care about the time or the place. I care about you, Evelyn. I love you." The words hung in the air, their significance profound. Evelyn's heart swelled with love, but she knew the reality they faced. "I love you too, Henry, but our love defies time. We can't change who we are or where we come from. determined to make the most of their remaining time, Henry and Evelyn decided to live each moment to the fullest. They shared their hopes, dreams, and fears, creating memories that would last a lifetime. They laughed, danced, and held each other close, savoring the fleeting moments of their extraordinary love. As the day of her departure drew near, Evelyn felt a sense of urgency. She needed to find a way back to her time, but the thought of leaving Henry was unbearable. One night, as she held the pocket watch in her hand, she felt a strange sensation, similar to the one that had brought her to this era. The watch began to glow, and she realized that her time was running out. With a heavy heart, Evelyn went to Henry and explained what was happening. "I don't know how much time I have left," she said, tears streaming down her face. "I don't want to leave you, but I don't have a choice." Henry pulled her into a tight embrace, his own tears falling freely. "We'll find a way to be together, Evelyn, no matter what it takes." As the watch's glow intensified, Evelyn felt herself being pulled away. She clung to Henry, their love anchoring her, even as the world around her began to blur. "I love you," she whispered, her voice fading as she was enveloped in light. When the light faded, Evelyn found herself back in the modern world, in the museum's storage room. The pocket watch lay in her hand, its glow fading. She looked around, disoriented and heartbroken. The memories of her time with Henry flooded her mind, and she knew that her life would never be the same. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn struggled to readjust to her old life. She threw herself into her work, but her heart remained with Henry. She often wondered if he was thinking of her, if he had found a way to move on. One day, while working in the museum, Evelyn noticed a new exhibit being prepared. It was a collection of artifacts from the Cavendish estate, donated by the current Duke of Hawthorne. As she examined the items, her heart skipped a beat. Among them was a letter addressed to her. With trembling hands, Evelyn opened the letter. It was from Henry, written in the elegant script she knew so well. The letter spoke of his undying love and his determination to find a way to be with her. He had dedicated his life to preserving the history of their love, ensuring that their story would be remembered. Tears streamed down Evelyn's face as she read the final words of the letter. "Our love is timeless, Evelyn. I will find you, no matter the distance or the time that separates us. Until we meet again, my heart will always be with you." Evelyn's heart swelled with hope. She knew that their love was strong enough to transcend time. With renewed determination, she vowed to find a way to bridge the gap between their worlds. No matter how long it took, she would find her way back to Henry, and they would write the next chapter of their timeless love story together. Thank you so much for listening to this short, romantic audiobook. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to Love Stories Unplugged.